Welcome back to another episode on Journey to Authenticity, a podcast helping you to become fully authentic on your journey to success. I'm your host, Braden Belknap, and I'm a human just like you, striving to build a dream life, all while I stay true to myself. But what if you're in a position of battling your subconscious? Battling your subconscious because you've listened to people in the past, people telling you who to be, what to do, and ultimately what you can and cannot do. That's exactly why we have Jared Briggs joining us today. He's dealt with that all. He came from a place of being told who he could be, what he could do, or what he couldn't do. And he had to battle his subconscious, transform his thought processes and his emotions to where now he has found success in his marriage, confidence in himself, success with the relationships with his kids, and ultimately finding success in business. With that in mind, welcome to the show, Jared.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I've seen and watched your stuff through Skylar Bytendorp. Known him since 16. And so
I didn't know that.
It's been fun watching you grow over the last couple of months.
Heck yeah.
Following you through him.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the invite. This is fun.
Absolutely. So what inspired entrepreneurship for you?
Gosh, that's a good question. I would say I was a terrible student in high school. Like, I actually talked about that with one of my office ladies today. I'm like, you couldn't pay me $1 billion to go back to high school. Like, I just didn't like it. So I was just a terrible student, and just the thought of going to college and just getting a job and just following kind of the same routine of a job, I was just like, gosh, that just doesn't fit me. Like, I'm just kind of go with the flow and just do what it is that you want to do. And so I honestly in high school, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm way interested in business. And so I've just followed that path. I actually went to a couple semesters of college, and by the second one going through it, and the whole time I would just be like, thinking about business, like what business could I start? What could I do? Like, I literally created plans of wrote out whole businesses in class, and I'm like, oh crap, what the heck are they talking about? So I didn't even pay attention to class. So it's just something I've always been interested in, is being an entrepreneur and kind of blazing my own path with it.
That's honestly the way to go.
Yeah.
And what better place to be when you're not a better student, a horrible student.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrible. Terrible. I had good enough grades to play sports. That's where I was at.
That's fair. What was I'm guessing baseball, but I can be wrong.
I played baseball, but my big thing was basketball.
Okay.
Yeah, my community where I grew up, we're a big basketball community. We don't have football where I grew up, and so we had baseball, basketball, track, golf, and then
fair.
Rodeo and stuff. So, but I love basketball.
That's fair. Do you rodeo?
I always wanted to, but parents couldn't afford it.
Oh, it's an expensive sport.
Oh man. Yeah, people think basketball and all that's expensive. Not even close.
Some of those people in rodeo make really good money.
Yeah, they can make good money, but
you have to be the best.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah, you got to win NFR and all those big things. But like, I know a lady in my community, like they have a horse. They paid $40,000 for the horse. That's just the horse. You got to have a truck and trailer and all the other stuff too, So,
and the hay every month.
Yeah.
And the food.
It's expensive. So.
And the vets if you need them.
Yeah. So I wanted to, but I never did.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe someday, right?
Well, yeah, my kids.
Exactly.
I always tell my wife, I'm going to learn when my kids are learning. We'll rodeo together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it'd be fun.
And I love that too, because a lot of parents just sit back and watch their kids grow.
Yeah.
And sometimes they instill their dreams in their kids, like, oh, I always wanted to do this, so I'm gonna have you do it.
Yeah.
It's like, you're like, no, let's get our hands dirty together.
Yeah.
Let's learn together.
Heck yeah.
It's having, living in a 30-year-old's body, 35, 40, whatever, how old you are then, but you're being a kid at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Enjoying life.
Heck yeah.
So entrepreneurship, you went through, school, not finding a lot of success. Did you start to have the thoughts of business in high school? Like, when did it start to become more a reality that you were going to be an entrepreneur?
I would say, right. So I graduated high school in 2012. So I was the year the world was going to end, right? So I graduated in 2012, like a couple days later, moved out of the house, went and lived with a family member, started working out in the oil field. And at that point, I was just like, this is kind of a funny story, actually. At that point, I was like, hey, I have no clue what I'm going to do with my life. Like, I know I don't want to go to college. I know I don't want to go get a job and, work for somebody. Like, I want to build a business, but I just had no clue what to do, how to do it, when to do it, none of that. And so I was just like, well, maybe I should start reading books. Well, the only person I could think of was Donald Trump. And I'm like, man, he's a successful business owner. I've heard of his name, a bunch of stuff. Maybe he's got some books. So I jumped on Amazon. Dude, this was in like probably late 2012. Jumped on and got on Amazon, found I think 2 of his books, bought them, and then started reading them. And then he talks about other people in his books. And so I looked them up and bought their books. And so then it just like put me into this world of personal development and business. And then podcasts started taking off and YouTube and all these things. So I just really started like consuming all of this information for, 10 plus years now, like really studying the successful and entrepreneurs in business and being a leader, building teams, all those aspects of things. And I've worked a lot on my mindset because I really developed over the time. I was like, okay, it's who do I have to become, right? Like who I was when I graduated high school, like I didn't know anything about, building business or, like what are the disciplines and, all the things that I know now. So I had to like formulate all those things and like come up with a new version of myself. So that's like one thing that's kind of cool with my wife is like the person she married, I'm still the same person, but she's like, you're 100% different. Cause like you've completely reconstructed your whole self, like your mindset, what you believe, your capabilities and your abilities and your knowledge and all those things. So I just really dove into the personal development side of stuff. And I still didn't know what I was going to do for business, but I just kept learning and learning and learning and learning. And I ended up going on an LDS mission, served for 2 years, and that was really good. One of the greatest values I got from that is I learned how to study because every morning, it's funny, I served mission. I can't remember the schedule now, but I think it's like an hour or 2 hours every morning. You just study the scriptures and journal and, just everything about Christ. And so in doing that, I learned and gained a lot more skills about studying and writing and learning and reading. And I just become better at all of those things. So then when I come home, I just like it put me on a path to get even better. Like it was the best pressure cooker of 2 years because I was just pressure cooked on high, just like learning and learning and learning, right? So then I come home and I was like, whoa, I'm going to jump back into the personal development stuff, all that stuff I was reading before. But now there's podcasts and YouTube and even more books. And I've learned of other people and met tons of successful people on my mission and what they did. And so I just had so much more knowledge and information that I just took all those things and just started applying them more to me. Like, all right, now it's time to start building something,
I love that. And something that you highlight in that reference is taking almost past life experience forward.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people will look at certain things like, oh, that 3-year period that I had that boyfriend or that girlfriend or, that job. It's like, no, I understand that wasn't necessarily where you were optimally wanting to be, but what good did you learn?
That's the thing is like, there's no failure. There's only feedback. Like even when I invest in my business and do stuff now, and, let's say I spend $5,000 and it doesn't turn out the way I wanted to. People are like, oh, you lost $5,000. I'm like, no, I didn't. I gained $5,000 worth of knowledge of what not to do. I'll never make that mistake again. Like you can either look at the negative side of it, right? And that's most people go to the, oh man, I lost $5,000 and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, no, you didn't, man. Like you now have $5,000 worth of knowledge that probably not many other people have. Like you have knowledge. There's nothing more powerful than knowledge in these things. And so that's the thing is I started looking at those things. I'm like, look, I can look at the positive or the negative. I'm going to look at the positive and see how I can grow and win. That's, like my podcast show. I'm restructuring and redoing a bunch of other things with it. And I look at that, I'm like, man, I've wasted a lot of time and money. I'm like, wait a minute. No, I didn't. I gained a lot of knowledge and information of, okay, I don't want to do it like that. Let's expand and grow into a new area of growth, right?
Absolutely.
So positive or negative, like you can choose. You can only do one at one time.
It's a simple concept of problem versus opportunity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything comes down to a problem opportunity. Literally every single moment. Even in this podcast right here, I could create a problem out of this podcast.
Yeah, right.
If we wanted to.
Yeah.
Or we can just make a lot of opportunity.
Yep.
Money, and the reason people, I believe, because money really is an enhancer of emotion.
Oh, yeah.
Fear, excitement, joy, happiness, scarcity, you name it. Problem is, most people are operating their life out of fear, scarcity, holding on to things.
Yeah.
And they don't let it go. But when it gets lost, it's like, oh no.
Yeah, right.
I'm already 30. I just lost $5,000. It's like, you're only 30, buddy. Like, you're going to be good.
You'll be fine. Now, if you were 70, we'd be like, okay, we got to rebound. But yeah, that's the thing.
And that's the cool thing is, hey, what's the opportunity in every problem that we're experiencing? How can we actually learn from this and transform it? Instead of looking at, whether it's financially or knowledge or marriage, whatever it is, whatever quote unquote problem you're facing, well, isn't that just an opportunity to grow? Like, if you're not good in your physical body, isn't that just an opportunity? If you keep looking at a problem, you're going to stay the same, if not get worse.
Yeah. Well, it's the concept, like, I look back at, like, growing up in childhood, and, everybody has things from their childhood that they wish were different, right? Maybe it was how you got treated or experiences or whatever. Like, there's good and bad in those experiences. And there's a lot of things that happened I used to look back and I was, like, kind of angry at for a long time. And it wasn't until I heard somebody say, they're like, look, everything that's happened in your life happened for you, not to you. Like, you are who you are today because of those things. Pull the positive out of it, right? And so I started looking at that instead of being frustrated and, having some animosity towards some of those things. I'm like, look, these things happened for me because the passions and drive that I have now were all because of those things. That's, like I said, I love basketball. And one of my biggest dreams ever was to win state championship. When I was in 4th and 5th grade, our high school team, so I grew up 1A high school. Like, my graduating class was 16 people. So tiny school, right? And so our school went back-to-back state champions in 2004 and 2005. And I was in 4th and 5th grade. And I remember watching games. Like, I remember going to the high school with my parents, watching the games, supporting the team. And from that moment, like, seeing that and how cool they were and how good they were, that was the biggest dream of mine. Like, when I graduated high school and I didn't win a state championship, like, it crushed me. Like, dude, I'll be like, I've cried even 5 years later. Like, I've had tears come to my eyes because of that feeling of a failure. When I used to be, like, frustrated at those things. And now I'm like, all those experiences happened for me. Because of those things, like, I'm very driven now. Because I look back and it's like, man, I should have been waking up early in the morning and practicing. I should have been pulling my team, like, guys, let's meet at the gym early in the mornings, like in the summer. Let's go practice. Let's go get shots up. Let's, work out. Let's do those things. I should have been a leader, pulling and leading us to accomplish that goal. We talked about it all the time, but we didn't put the work in, right? Like, we thought it was just going to happen. And so I look at that and I was like, gosh, I failed at that. And so I can look at that as like a failure, or I can be like, look, that happened for me, because guess what? I'm not going to let that happen again in my life. My businesses and the things that I'm working on, like, I outwork a lot of people because of those experiences. When people are like, oh, let's take a break. I'm like, forget that. I know what happens when you take a break. You don't accomplish the goal. And so I look at those things, and those emotions and feelings come up all the time of what I felt when we lost by 1 to go to the to go to the tournament. We lost the game we needed to win to go to the state tournament. We lost by 1 point. So that just eats you up, right? Like, 1 freaking point. Like, if the kid on my team would have hit the shot, we would have gone to the state championship, but we didn't hit it. So like, you can look at that as a failure and be like, you know what, that happened for me. Like, I know what it feels like to sit in that locker room and be like, I don't have another chance at this. That was my senior year. So I look at that now in my business and the things that I'm working on and being a good father and husband and all those, and I look at that, I'm like, those things happened for me because it makes me better every single day. Like, when I look at quitting, I'm like, no way. So, I mean, everybody has experiences where they're letting those experiences have a hold on them. Reverse that. It happened for me.
And you're living in that mindset every day. Like, the truth is, we get one day that's, what is today, May 30th?
Yeah, something.
2024. We get one of these.
Yeah.
Like,
this day will never be here again.
Never.
Even if you were a billionaire.
Exactly. We get one. So are we winning as championships?
Yeah.
Or champions, I should say.
Yeah. Win the day.
Or are we not?
Yep.
You get one moment today. Are you going to go take that break, and that 5-minute break turn into a 30-minute break?
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Which is good. Don't get me wrong. There's some days I don't do crap. Like, I just need a brain nothing day,
Sure.
But they're nothing
intentional.
They're intentional.
Yeah,
I go golfing on intention now. Like, I need to go step away for a minute, go have some fun, enjoy, because I took this too far. So when I started my business in 2017, I didn't do anything. I like to hunt and play basketball and go fishing and golfing. And like, I like to go do stuff. I didn't do anything for probably 10 years. I never bought a hunting license. I didn't do anything. I burnt out because I had experienced failure in that way. It's like, I never want to feel that again. I would just nonstop, which was crazy because my business started to grow. Like, I had money in the bank and I'm like, I can go do some things. And I never did because I was just like, go. And I eventually burnt out. My wife was like, dude, you gotta enjoy life. And I'm like, well, you're right. Like, what's the point? So now I'm in this mindset, like, what's the point of all this if we're not enjoying it? You know?
Absolutely.
What is the point of it?
What was the age that you started your business?
So I was in 2017. So I want to say it was 23, March 2017. I think I just turned 23 when I started my business.
And you didn't take a break. You essentially didn't take a break until you were 33?
No, I just turned 30 in March.
Okay.
So
that's where I was like confused.
It was,
I swear you're not 33.
Yeah. No. The first thing I really did for myself is in 2021, I bought a dirt bike. And that was the first thing I'd really taken money and been like, I'm going to buy this for 100% joy and pleasure. And like, I didn't sell something to buy it. Because most time if I did, like, I bought a scope and a couple of things, but I would sell something to buy it. So I wouldn't use any of our money. Like, well, I don't use this or do this anymore. So I'd sell it and then go buy something else. But that dirt bike was the first, like, okay, I'm going to pull out the money and actually go buy it. And like, I talked about it for 6 months. Finally, my wife turned around one day. She's like, go buy the freaking dirt bike. Because if I hear you say one more thing about the dirt bike, I'm going to slap you with the dirt bike. Like, she was just like, go buy the freaking thing, you know? And I instantly started making more money because I was like, whoa, I'm actually enjoying something. Like, I'm enjoying. And it motivated. I was like, this is fun. This was fun to do this stress-free. I had the cash to go do it. And it motivated me. I was like, man, what else could I do? What else could we experience? How much more joy could we experience? Like, it motivated me forward. So that was kind of a cool learning experience, you know?
Well, I love that you say that. And I see a lot of my journey and your journey. Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of the entrepreneurs.
There's a lot of
entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That can
oh, yeah.
respond to that, because when I started door to door at 16, hit my ground running, was a top salesman within 3 months. Started my first business at 17.
Heck yeah.
And then I started life coaching professionally. So obviously there was a time frame where I also had to do my own study. You know, how did businesses succeed? What was business? What is brand? I mean, how does marketing work? Plus learning how to take somebody and truly help them transform.
Yeah.
So I've been really coaching for the last 5 years. For the longest time, it was, hey, got to write that book. Hey, got to launch the podcast. Hey, got to launch that one-on-one. Hey, got to launch that event. It was just go.
Yeah.
Which drive, let's be honest, I failed quickly.
Yeah.
I know what works now and what doesn't work now.
Knowledge, man.
And trust me, even though 2 years of that craziness was there,
yeah,
it's a blessing, because now I got to be like, oh, I can take a deep breath. I can succeed long-term and not just short-term, and have my eye on the scope for that vision, not feeling like I should accomplish it next year, because that's virtually impossible.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible to win long-term, and I can enjoy the journey to get there.
That's the thing.
And the moment that I said, okay, yeah, there's a plan in place. Yes, we need to set certain time aside for things that we don't necessarily like doing.
Yeah.
But I can also set aside time for things that I do enjoy.
Yep.
And the moment that I allowed for my life to be, I hate the word balanced, honestly, because...
See, I struggle with balance. I'm like, you make time for the things that are important. If it's not important, you ain't gonna make time for it. Like, balance is hard.
But point being is, I make time for what I need and what I want now.
Yeah.
And...
dude, sometimes there's nothing better than just turning on the TV, watching a Netflix series, binging it, and just be like, that was great. All right, I'm getting back after it, you know?
Yeah. There's
nothing wrong with it, you know?
It's being intentional about it. And I get just as much done as I used to.
Yeah.
I just work more efficiently instead of sitting on my desk and twiddling my thumbs because my head hurts because I'm looking at the screen. I know when to take a break.
Yep.
And in return, you accomplish a lot more, like you said.
100%.
Got the dirt bike and you made more money. Why? Because you started to enjoy more life. You started to enjoy your probably job more than what you used to.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. That's and I've just kind of kept going with that. I've really gotten into golf the last couple of years. And so a membership come up where I'm at. The guy, it's normally $3,500 to buy the membership. And he's like, dude, $1,200. I just need to get rid of it. So I bought it. Well, it's dang fun. I've met a ton of people. And in my business, I've gained, probably just in the last couple of months, 10 plus clients just because I'm a member. I go up there, play. People have invited me to play in like men's league and tournaments and all that. And I'm like, man, I'm enjoying the heck out of this. Like, it's way fun, but business is happening at the same time, So I heard something a while ago where the guy on stage, I went to an event and he said, like, we build our business. Wait, am I saying this right? We build our business around our life. So it's like we're on vacation, but we're still doing our business. And like, it just consumes us, right? And he's like, why not wait, did I say that right? We build our life around our business. We should build our business around our life. Yeah. To where it's like, I'm going to do the things that I enjoy, spend the time doing the things that I enjoy, and I'm going to implement it within it. So it's not controlling me, And that's like even my team sometimes, like one lady just left on vacation today. And I'm like, she's like, but I'll take my laptop and I'm like, no, you're on vacation. Like, go. And I went on vacation not too long ago. And she's like, well, yeah, but you still worked. And I'm like, you're right. Like I did, I'm like, I need to be better at that, where it's like, I'm intentional with where I'm at instead of trying to do all of it all at the same time. Like if I'm on vacation, be present on vacation with my family and go enjoy that. Yeah, if something comes up and I need to handle it, of course, that's part of being a business owner. Sometimes you got to take care of things. But that's one thing that I've really looked at. I was like, hey, I need to restructure my life in a lot of ways to where I build my life around my business so that I'm enjoying and I'm living within that purpose instead of just going through the motions.
Absolutely. That's the case, is you still don't, like for me, it was, I'm a business owner and that's all I am.
Yeah.
I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a coach and that's all I am. And yeah, that's a big part of who I am, because let's be real, when it's part of your identity to want to build big things, when you want to not only help yourself, but make an impact for others. Like, I can't shut that off in my brain. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that's my wife's like, you need to shut off. I'm like, that ain't possible. Like, it's like, I'm always thinking about business and growth and personal development. Like, it's just who I am. I love it.
But it's not a selfish thing. No. I'm doing this because I want to be better for you.
Yeah.
I'm doing this because I want to be better for my future kids. And for you, your present kids.
Yep.
It's a very loving thing.
Yeah.
It's a part of my identity. And
that's, I was just say, it's a DNA thing, right?
And, I am careful, and I would encourage anybody listening to this, you certainly want to be careful what you identify to.
Yeah.
But the truth is, a lot of people identify to the what, not to the why. The what is, your job. It's somebody asks you, hey, who are you? Oh, I'm this, and it's like your job title.
Well, that's like, if you ask anybody like, oh, what do you do? They first thing is like their job or their business or something. It's like, no, like, who are you?
And that's what you identify with.
Yeah.
I identify with coach myself because that title cannot be taken away from me.
Yeah.
Through and through, I'm going to consistently coach myself to be better. And anybody else that wants to come into my life, I have a skill set that can't be taken away from me unless I'm dead or I can't talk anymore.
Yeah.
But guess what? I'm still going to consistently coach myself to be better.
Yeah.
If I couldn't walk, if I couldn't talk, my mindset is, how do I become better? So that's just what I would encourage everybody to do. Be careful with what you identify with. Identify with the why.
Yeah. I like that.
So
I like that.
You've obviously accomplished a lot of success in 30 years. So well done.
Thank you.
And not only did you succeed a lot, you've consistently grown to become a better man. That's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
It's easy to fall into the habits that aren't creating goodness for you and your family. Let's talk about the pitfalls, man. What if there was one main pitfall that you've experienced over your 30 years? What has that looked like for you? Or what did it look like?
It was my own mind. And it still is. And the reason why I say my own mind is because when I got into business and I was a couple years into it, like I just hit this cap where I'm like, gosh, no matter what I do, I feel like I don't grow anymore. Like I literally sabotage my life. Like I grow and then come down, I grow and come down, and grow and come down. And through all my studies, because like I mentioned at the beginning, like I love reading books and listening to podcasts and going to masterminds and going to events, because I'm just like constantly like, what's one little tip that's going to make me even better? So I'm always looking for that. And I just noticed this sabotage within myself. And I constantly heard within the books and the podcast and these other successful people how they talked about how they had a coach in whatever aspect, whatever they needed help with, right? And so I finally told my wife one day, I was like, I think I need to hire a coach to help me like break through. Like I feel like I've capped out. Like I really want to get my business to a 6 figures. And I feel like no matter what I do, like that goal just keeps getting further. And so I did. I found a coach, hired him, worked with him for a little bit, found some other, communities and coaches. And like I've really spent a lot of time and money investing into those things. And I finally come across a program that focused on the conscious and the subconscious mind. And it just clicked. I was like, that is the problem. Like I have so many limiting beliefs. I have scarcity with money. I have scarcity with growth. I have limiting beliefs. I live in fear. I'm like, what if this goes wrong or what if this happens, right? And so I invested pretty heavily into a program that focused all on like our subconscious mind and our conscious mind and like reprogramming it and rewriting that, right? Because like the things that we tell ourselves is what we're going to manifest. What you believe is what's going to happen. What you think about is what happens. What goes around comes around. That's like that whole concept of that. One thing that I've really been working on, those pitfalls that have really caused me to struggle, is how do I train my subconscious mind through the disciplines and the actions and all those things that I'm doing so that I subconsciously program, that's not me anymore. I win. I make lots of money. I am successful. I am a leader. I am a good podcaster. I am all of these things that I want to do, and I'm programming that into myself. And so that's been the biggest helpful breakthroughs for me, is understanding that sabotage that I was doing and then understanding it so that I can completely like redefine my identity and become who it is that I want to become. Like who's the real you, right? And so going towards those goals and dreams that I have. So those are the biggest pitfalls that I'm working on. Cause I've, man, if you ask my wife, I'll sometimes get in my head and I will completely shut down. I won't talk to her. We've had whole weekends where we've said 5 words together. And it was because I was so in my own darkness and living in the scarcity and the fear and I'm going to fail and da-da-da-da. And all it was programming from when I was a kid and growing up and all of those programs that were just overrunning me. So I've had to like learn how to rewrite those programs within my own mind.
But you've done the work, man.
It's a lot of work. That's the thing. Yeah, it's a lot of work and it's still a constant thing, So those have been the biggest pitfalls. It's not the economy. It's not money. It's not sales. It's not any of those things that I've had to face within business. Like I was my biggest enemy in all of those things. And when I started fixing that, I mean, we've grown a ton.
But that's the truth. It's kind of like we talked about problem opportunity. Like you're the opportunity.
Yeah.
You're the biggest opportunity to win in every other area.
Yeah.
Because you were your worst critic. You were your worst pitfall.
Yeah. Big time.
So you're overcoming that.
Yep.
What has that created? Economy is bad. Opportunity.
Yeah.
President sucks. Opportunity.
Yep.
Money's not coming in. Opportunity.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a problem.
Yeah.
It's opportunity.
Yep.
And you've really harnessed that. And now you've passed over 6 figures.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's a win.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
And it simply came down to you leaning on you and you saying, you know what, I'm going to become the best version of myself so that I can win in whatever area it was you were looking to win.
Exactly.
I'm sure your wife's proud of you too.
Yeah. We've done it together. That's been the fun part. Is she's 100% supportive. That's when we got married. I told her, I'm like, I will work my butt off to provide a dream life for you. The only thing I ask is never ask me to give up on my dreams. And she never has. She's always supported me no matter what risk I've taken or investment I've done or this and this and this. Like she's always been 100% supportive. And also sometimes exactly what I needed in the moment. One time I was just being a complete baby one day and just being a whiner and complaining and the sky was falling and all that. And she was walking up the stairs. This is when we lived up in Logan, Utah. She was walking up the stairs and I was saying some stuff and she just turned around. She's like, well, I guess it's time for you to stop being a little bitch, and turned around and walk up the stairs. And I was like, what'd she just freaking say to me? Like, of course the pride within my own self was like, what the crap? And I just sat there and thought, and I was like, she's right. Like, the only person that's going to fix this is me. The only person that's going to make this business happen is me. The only person that's going to go make more money in this, because I was 100% by myself. I had no employees at that point. I was like, it's all up to me, and I can either go do it or I can whine and complain and do nothing. And so when she said that to me, like it hit me, it set me back, and then I was like, she's right. And I just quit, and woke up the next day and just got after it again. You know, so there's been so much, you know, like love and support and kind of a kick in the butt when I needed it at times, you know, and that's one thing I really appreciate with her is like we're 100% honest with each other in a lot of things. Like, you know how sometimes I don't, maybe your wife doesn't do it, but maybe other people they'll put on an outfit and they're like, oh, do I look good? And not, like sometimes they're like, no, that doesn't work. And she'll be like, okay. And like
my wife do that too.
Yeah, like we never get hung up on it. Like we're 100% honest with each other, and so I'll be like, oh no, that doesn't. But if you put that on or those shoes or whatever, and she'll be like, oh cool, thanks, you know. And like we never get hung up on those things. So like she's
so then they trust you more.
Yeah.
Then it's like, hey baby, you look really good.
Yeah.
They actually hear it instead of in the back of her head, maybe he's lying.
Yeah.
Because now she knows he's honest when I don't look good.
100%.
He's honest when I do look good.
Yep. So she's been exactly what I've needed all the time, and then I do my best to give that back. Of course, sometimes I'm not the best at it, but yeah, it's been really cool that way.
I love that. So what was that process, man? You mentioned that you completely transformed your subconscious mind and still actively doing so.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you do? You've mentioned you write down your goals, you say them, you speak them. What else are you doing to transform your subconscious mind?
I'm a big journaler. If you could come to my house and see my shelf of journals and my boxes of journals, I started that on my mission. It was really the only thing that got me through my mission, because it was hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And that's, you know, a lot of people will be like, oh, that was the best 2 years of my life. Not for me. It was the best 2 years for my life. Like I did so much growing in that moment. I become an independent man in that moment. Like now, I don't need my parents. Like I love my parents. I have a good relationship with them. I talk with them often, but I don't need them. And it was all because of those 2 years. Like I had to become independent. And with it being so hard, I didn't have anybody I could turn to. I was just with these random people and going out and serving every day. And it was really tough. So I really turned to journaling, and I've used that still to this day, where I write down a lot, like my thoughts, my frustrations, what I'm feeling, what I want. And so I use journaling a lot. But then through one of these programs that I went through, it was a big thing of it was like really defining what it is that you want. So we put a list of 1,000 things that we want, like physical wants, like a car, truck, side by side, like a watch. Like get really specific with the material items you want, the 1,000 experiences you want, and then like, what do you want to accomplish over the next 100 years? Like, have you ever sat down and written out a 100-year plan? Like what you're going to do this year, next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Like, do you have a really defined plan on what it is that you want to accomplish? And so while going through all of these exercises, it rooted up a lot of emotions or feelings or scarcity or stories that from my past. Like I've had so many stories from my past that have come up in these moments of journaling and going through these things and working on these things. And I'm like, oh, I struggle with the money scarcity mindset because of this thing that happened with my parents, or this thing that I did, or this thing that a teacher told me. I want to share a crazy story with you guys where like this really started to explode my life. In high school, like I mentioned, I wasn't a good student. And the school, I think I was like a sophomore, junior, they did a little exercise, which in principle, I really liked the idea of it. But they set up in one of the auditoriums, they set up booths. So like, here you pay your mortgage, here you pay your utilities, here you pay your car payment. And which was cool, right? And they gave us these fake checks and you had to write out a check. So the principle of it was really good, right? But they gave you a salary based on your GPA. And so I remember my salary was like $35,000 to $40,000 because I didn't have very good GPA. So they're like, you're going to struggle to go to college and get a good job because you don't have very good grades. Well, I subconsciously rooted that into myself. And I remember that I didn't like it in the moment. I was like, screw that. I'm going to make way more money than 40,000. Like, no way. Well, when I was going through all of this stuff, one day I was journaling. Guess what I was paying myself out of my business account? I was making more than 40,000 a year in my business. I could have paid myself more, but guess how much I was paying myself?
Probably less than 40.
I was paying myself like 39,000 a year. What I was paying myself monthly times it by 12, it was like 39 something, like right at 40,000. And I was like, holy crap. And I'd been doing that for like 2 years. And so one day I was sharing it with one of my friends. I was like, dude, my business is making more money, but da da da. And he's like, dude, just change the program. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, pay yourself more. Like next month, just pay yourself $1,000 more than you ever have. And I'm like, I didn't even freaking think of that. You see how our subconscious mind holds on to things so hard because its job is to keep us safe. Like our subconscious mind, like think about it. Like if you jump in cold water, like ice baths, the reason why your body is freaking out is because your body's like, hey, this temperature at a long period of time isn't safe. So it'll cause those sensors in our mind, like get out. And that's the whole challenge of the ice bath. It's like, no, I'm mentally going to make myself stay here because I'm in charge. You're having a battle between your conscious and your subconscious mind. And so that's what I was having financially, was this battle of like, I subconsciously programmed within myself because of that experience that my identity was $40,000 a year. All I did was pay myself $1,000 more the next month, and my income grew like $6,000 or $8,000 a month within the next year or two. Because I was just like, wait, I'm going to rewrite that program. Like I am better than this. Like I just started telling myself that and believing that and writing, like what my goal was financially, that I wanted to pay myself so I could take good care of my family. And so it's just a constant work on those things where it's like, how can I reprogram myself? Like I just bought my dream truck in November, and literally how I did that is I went and test drove this truck any chance I could. I'd go to the dealership, which is annoying because then that salesman calls you for 6 months after that, right? But I would go test, like if I was driving past a dealership and I seen the truck that I'd want, I'd be like, oh, I got 30 minutes, I'm gonna go see it. And even if I didn't test drive it, I would just go walk around it and look in it and take off before the salesman would come, right? But what I was working on was programming my subconscious and my conscious mind of like, this is me, this is what I drive, this is who I am. And so I had test drove that truck so much, I knew what it smelled like, I knew what it felt like, I knew what the steering wheel felt like, I knew what the buttons felt like, I knew what the screen looked like, I knew what it felt like. And I had a Honda Accord. So anytime I was in my Honda Accord, I would, like in my subconscious mental mind, because I had experienced it enough, I would picture myself driving my truck and I could feel it. Next thing I knew, I had my truck. Took a couple years for me to build the identity of who do I have to become to drive a truck like that. So it took me a couple years to get there, but it just fell into my lap one day. I was like, hey, I'm going to sell my car, put it on Facebook Marketplace. A salesman messaged me because the truck that I wanted at that time, a couple years when vehicles were just ridiculous, it was like $80,000, $90,000. I'm like, I just don't want to spend that much on a truck. So I put my car up for sale this last fall. Salesman messaged me and he's like, well, we'd be interested in taking that on trade. What are you looking for? Well, I was being a smart aleck and I said, I want a Ram 1500 limited white, did like everything that I wanted in it in a message. I knew exactly what I want. I'd been on my vision board for 2 years and I texted it to him. And like 2 minutes later, he sends me a link. He's like, oh, like this one? I'm like, oh, fetch. That's the exact truck. And it was a mile from my office. That truck was sitting there and I just didn't even notice it. And so then I was just like, dude, the price is like, I'm just not at the point where we can do his prices. And he's like, oh, we're actually doing a sale right now. It was like $18,000 off. He's like, it's a 2023. All the 2024s are coming in. We're doing a big sale. We got to clear the lot. If you come in today, da-da-da-da-da. And so all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. And I did the math and I was like, the payment's exactly where I wanted it to be. Like that was my goal, was to get to that point. And I'm like, it was like the easiest thing I have ever done, like buying the truck.
Let's go.
And then I just look back that I'm like, oh, that was on my vision board for 2 years. I knew exactly what it is that I wanted. I had experienced it a bunch of times. And so my wife and I do that all the time, like go into hotels where we're like, look, we're not at a point where we could afford this all the time, but once a year, let's go stay in a $500-$600 a night hotel. Like, let's give our mind and our subconscious mind something to play with. Be like, okay, we like this. Who do we have to become to experience this every time? Because this is the honest truth. Somebody out there is driving your dream vehicle. Somebody out there is staying in the hotels you want. Somebody is staying in the house you want. It is freaking possible. So who do I have to become to be the person to experience those things? Who do I have to become to run the business and all the things that I want and still be a good husband and still be a good father, still be a good example in the community? Who do I have to become to experience all those things? Because it's possible. That's the thing. And that's what I hold on to, is like, it's all around me. I see it all the time. Who do I have to become to experience those things? And so I'm just constantly challenging myself in those things. And my wife and I have done that so much that there's some things that when we were first married, we're like, oh, there's no way we could ever afford that. And now it's the normal because we experienced it one time and we liked it. And we're like, hey, who do we have to become to experience that more? And we just grew into that. And so then challenged, like, what's the next challenge? Like, who do we have to become and grow into that and grow into that and grow into that? And next thing you know, like, you're living the life you wanted because you had purpose and intention and you knew, right?
Exactly.
So there's kind of a long...
Dude, you crushed it. And two things come up with that. First is everything that you just said.
Yeah.
I teach through my vision. When somebody says, hey, how do I develop goals? I say, okay, so there's a process. First and foremost, you have to become aware of your past and what's holding you back. From there, you need to have an awareness. I always say start from the past, start with the future. Your future is actually becoming aware that God has a vision for you that's greater than your own.
Yep.
Second, you create your life vision.
Yep.
What is everything that you want to create in life? And leave all your limits at the door.
That's the thing, man. Like, so many people sit down and they create goals based on limitation.
Absolutely.
Then that's one thing that, like, I've had to, like, really work on is, like, okay, if there was no limitation, like, that's what I like when I'm sitting down to do one of these sessions or I'm planning. I'm like, okay, if there was no limitation, what would I do? And those are the things that I put down because I'm like, they're possible.
Absolutely.
Right.
From there, I help you create your life vision, right? Or sorry, your vision board. And from there, we look at where you're at right now. We develop a plan to execute your vision board.
Take action.
And then the second thing is to the point of vision and money and whatever the case is. There's millionaires in every single industry that you can think of. So why not make money doing what you love?
Yep.
Somebody's driving the car you want to drive, going to the hotels that you want to go to, living in the house that you want to live in. And they're doing what you want to do for a living.
Yeah.
So why not?
You're probably more qualified.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but they're doing it.
Exactly. I mean, there's a lot of good life coaches, but obviously life coaches there's a rep for them.
Yeah.
Some people just aren't the greatest.
Yeah.
There's some crappy life coaches out there in the world right now, and they're making crazy amounts of money, and everybody's falling for their crap.
Yep.
Why not be that good life coach or that good whatever you want to be?
Yeah.
And go make a good name for the industry.
Yep.
Like, take your vision above yourself is what I'm trying to say. Go make a legacy impact, and not just on yourself, not just your wife, not just your kids, not just your family tree. Go make a legacy impact for somebody else's life tree.
See, and doesn't that fuel, like, for me, that fuels me. Like, I don't come from money. I don't come from success. I don't come from business owners. I come from a good mom, a good dad. We had a roof over our head, but there was a lot of stress and frustration and, a lot of those things. And so my whole goal has been, like, I want to change my family tree. And so I want to show people what's possible. Like, that is a huge goal of mine. Like, look, guys, anything you want is possible. You just got to believe and start taking action in that direction towards accomplishing that. Even if it's just 30 minutes a day, like, you'll be freaking amazed at what you can accomplish just 30 minutes a day towards that. But, like, that fuels me so much. Is like, I want to show people what's possible. I love that.
And do you get to change your family tree in the process?
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
My daughter, we went to a hotel. So I served my mission in South Carolina. So in March, I turned 30 and my wife's like, what do you want to do for your 30th birthday? And I was like, I want to go to South Carolina. So that's what we did. Well, I asked a friend that I have down there. It's like, hey, we're going to go to Charleston. What's a good hotel? So he shared the hotel with us. It was like $550, $600, like a night, like high end. And I was like, you know what? Forget it. Let's just do it. So we go, like, we get to the hotel and it's just like crazy, dude. The service was unreal. Like, you just feel like a king and a queen, the service that they give you at those places. And so we walk into the hotel and they delivered our bags to us, set them up, like, just incredible. And then my wife looks at me, she's like, you realize what you just did? I'm like, well, what do you mean? She's like, look at the standard you just created for your daughter. So she's 3. She turned 3 in March. And I'm like, good. That's exactly what I want. Like, I want her to see what is possible, not live in limitation, not live in scarcity. I want her to be in the mindset of what is possible, because this is the honest truth. Like, we are all children of God. And all of these things, all knowledge and information has come from God. And so the Lamborghini and the Ferrari and the nice vehicles and the nice houses and the hotels, God gave man and woman the knowledge and the ability to create those things. So why shouldn't we enjoy them? Why should we live in scarcity and not enjoy those things? Right? And so that's what I want to create in my daughter. I don't want her to be hung up on what things cost. I want her to be like, oh, I want to experience this beautiful creation of God. I want to go to this state. I want to go do this. I want to do this, da 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 da, and not live in the limitation of like, oh no, we can't because we can't afford, or da 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 da. Like, I want her to be in the mindset of like, oh, okay, how can we? How do we do that?
And that's the trick. Because can we afford everything right now?
Maybe not in this moment.
Not in this moment.
No.
So the conversation is, oh, we can't afford that, so we can't do that. It's, hey,
that instantly shuts your mind off.
We can do this. Let's create a plan on how to get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's forward focused.
Yep.
It's, I want this. I can get this. I just need to execute a plan.
That's like, I hear people talk about all the time. They're like, oh, I could never afford that. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. Like, you just set your own path. You said, I could never afford that. My wife and I all the time, like, there's so many things we're working on right now and that we're working towards and building towards. And like, I can't is not allowed in our home. Like, if there's something my wife wants to do or whatever, we're like, how could we do that? How could we afford that? How could we accomplish that? Because the mind is capable of infinite things. Like, we will see opportunities that like we didn't even know existed. All you gotta do is open your mind to it. Have you ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad with Robert Kiyosaki?
I've gone through I've listened to podcasts. I'm kind of embarrassed to say that's one book I haven't read. That's on my bookshelf.
Yeah, that's a good one. So everybody, if you guys haven't read that, there's some really good principles in there about this. Robert Kiyosaki and his friend, his rich dad's son, which was his best friend, they worked in his gas station for free. Their dad's like, if you want to learn how to be rich, you're going to work for free. And they're like, what are you freaking talking about? That's not going to make us rich. And he's like, you got to learn how to make money some other way. So that's what they did. They worked for free every Saturday for a long time. And one day, Robert Kiyosaki seen something happen with the comic books. And they went to the guy for the comic books and said, hey, can we have those? And they're like, yeah, as long as you don't resell them, because they tore the covers off or whatever, right? And turned them in for credits for new ones, the ones they didn't sell. So they took all the comic books, set up a library in his best friend's house. They set up like a comic library, and they charged every kid like 10 cents or whatever it was. And they could come and read as many comic books as they wanted for like 2 or 3 hours. And they got to the point where they were making a bunch of money every day because of that. Well, their dad wasn't paying them. And so every day they were just looking at like, okay, how could we make money? How could we make money? How could we make money? And then all of a sudden, Robert Kiyosaki seen something he had never seen before. Well, think about that. What else are we not seeing? Like, I in my business, I had a conversation with a guy for 45 minutes last year, probably about this time last year. That one conversation has made me right around 6 figures. For one 45-minute conversation has made me about 6 figures in a year. It was just another little component I added to my business because of that conversation. What else are we not seeing? What else are we not doing? What else are we not experiencing? Like, that's the cool part about all of it, right? And so that's why, like, oh, we can't is not allowed. It's like, no, how can we? Who do we have to become? What could we do? What are we missing? What, you know? And so I do that a lot in journaling, is I'll ask myself those questions of like, hey, what am I not seeing? What am I missing? Da, 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 and just constantly challenging my current mind frame to think outside the box.
Well done, man. That's the way to go.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I can't immediate shut off. And yeah, like you said, you're right.
Yeah, you're right.
Something, I'm sure you've seen this with a lot of my peers or people my age.
Yeah.
They see inflation as a crutch to not getting the house, getting the car.
Excuse.
Not getting married, not having kids, like whatever. It's like such a crutch. Again, problem, opportunity. Isn't there a massive problem in the world that you could actually just go solve a different problem in correlation to that and live the life that you want?
Well, I already told you my story. My wife and I building our house. Same thing. House prices are crazy, especially in Utah, right? So we're like, hey, what else could we do to build the home that we want to build? And we come up with a solution, you know? It's just like, guys, there's not one way to do it all.
Yeah, that's the key. Is there's not one way.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the way our parents did it and our grandparents doesn't work anymore.
No,
Like we've got to get creative. Yeah, we've got to get creative. We got to think outside the box. We got to be kind of, we got to re-engineer a lot of things. The way that I've done things and my wife is completely different than any of our parents. But we're in that space where it's gotta be different, because we do have different tools and resources too. So why not use those things?
And my thought process is, as we were talking about this, we kind of talked about this before too, is this country was really developed off of the entrepreneurship.
Oh yeah.
People came to the Americas, they had to develop land, they had to acquire skill sets.
There was nothing.
From there, they would trade on whatever the case was in order to build their family up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because yes, America has an economy, but each family has their own economy too.
Yep.
What sources of income, growth, businesses, leadership, each family has their own economy per se, right?
Yep.
Those entrepreneurs built America.
Yeah.
From there, workers started to be developed.
Jobs.
To develop further. Well, it's ultimately going to be the new entrepreneurs of the world that revamp America.
Yeah. Oh, dude, and that's what I'm excited about, to be honest with you. Like, there's an opportunity like there's never been in America. Like the advancement of technology and resources and tools, and like there's so many new industries that are going to be developed over the next 5 to 10 years. Like, I'm excited to see what it is. As so many people, like, especially people like 40s, 50s, 60s, like they're like, oh, we're screwed, we're done, and it's like, no, like there's going to be a whole new wave of, what's to come.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of fun, I think. It's cool to see. Everybody likes to hold on to history. I'm not a big history person. I'm like, cool, we can learn from history, but
the truth is,
we got to expand, right?
What person on average, like that percentage of average people actually learning from history, is very few and far between.
Right? Yeah,
So
don't even get me started on history. I have a hard time with history.
I agree.
I'm the type of guy like, cool, the building is cool. Take a freaking picture of it, put it in the damn museum, and get rid of the building and build something productive there. Like, I don't care if somebody's parent lived there in 1970 or 1770. I'm like, cool, like let's move on.
So we won't go,
people don't like that, but
we won't go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But I'll just throw the comment out there. Like, I remember in school, hey, first day of class in history, guys. Hey, so we're having this class so that we don't repeat the past and so that we can keep moving forward. And so, we'll just say, I'm not saying that we're going down a Hitler route, but
yeah.
Hitler, very well communicator, he had the ability to be a leader. Like, he is a genius.
Yeah.
He started taking things away slowly. He started the manipulation ship slowly. A lot of that is shit that we're seeing now.
That's the thing.
So if one of the major things that took place in history we haven't even learned from, I think somebody else needs to stand up and
that's what I'm talking.
Start to make a change.
That's why I have a hard time with history. Is like, guys, like we gotta move forward. If you're not growing, you're dying. I truly believe that. Like, especially in business and personal development and finance and marriage and family and husband and father and wife and mother and all that, right? Like, for me, this is like a truth for me. Like, if I am not growing, I'm like going backwards.
You are.
And it's that constant, like, I've got to push forward. Like, okay, what am I going to do today to do some form of getting better? Because if not, like, there's no just sitting neutral. Like, you're either progressing or you're going backwards. And that's what I want to look at with America is like, guys, we're so holding on to what used to be in the 1700s and the 1800s and the 1900s. It's like, was that cool? Hell yeah. Like, I love that kind of stuff and how the railroads were built and the steel corporations and the oil corporations and how it built America and we exploded and become the most powerful country. Like, that is the coolest story ever, right? But it's time to do it again. Absolutely. It's time to grow into the next phase of whatever this earth is meant to be in God's plan,
And one thing I'll share with that too is we talked about how you're starting new businesses out and how you genuinely believe, and not just believe, but know that it was put into your mind from God.
Yeah.
I'm a fundamental believer that everybody has a destiny here. and it was planned for you from God before you got here.
Everybody's got a purpose.
With that, your destiny has to be fulfilled. So if you're not going to do it, somebody else is. That's why I love the fact that you asked your wife, hey, I'm going to do everything necessary to build this really good life and give you a good life. I just ask that you never ask me to quit.
Yeah.
And that I've had that same conversation with my wife.
It's like, let's do this together.
I know this is my destiny.
Yeah.
Why I need to trust my wife to fully trust me and executing it.
Yeah.
Might take some time. But the truth is, the only sure way to not succeed is quit. You're not guaranteed if you do it, but you definitely are guaranteed not to win if you don't do it.
You're going to be 5 years older anyway in 5 years.
So
why not?
If you're poor now, and no, let's not even say that. If you don't find the success you're looking for in 5-10 years, who's to say that you're not going to get out of 11 years?
Yep. You talked about that in the podcast with, maybe it was some other, I think Jason Jenkins or something. It's just like, some people didn't find their success until they were in their 60s or 70s, but like, at least you find it. Like that's the journey, right? At least you find what you're here for.
And exactly at that point, my thing is,
doesn't matter when.
Okay, if I win today, like, hell yeah. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
I want fast success just as much as everybody else does.
I'm impatient, man.
Although I'd rather succeed than not, ever. Yeah. So what I mean by that is, you mentioned you're going to be 5 years older anyways. Okay, I'd rather work my ass off and enjoy the journey until I'm 40 and still have 60 years of life if I live till 100.
Yeah.
Doing what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Heck yeah.
Instead of subscribing to the quote unquote average life and not doing what I want to do forever.
That's like, I can tell for you as well, you and your wife, one of the things that I am so grateful for is I took my 20s seriously. Like I wasn't out partying and playing and we'll figure it out when we're 30 and 40. Like my wife and I were like, we got to work. And now I'm in my 30s, so she's 27 or something. And like, are we there? Have we made it? Have we figured it out? No, but we are so much further ahead 7-8 years later. I'm so glad we didn't just go through the motions for the first 10 years. And there's a lot of people on social media like giving advice like, you guys, you're 30, you're 40, like you're fine. Just enjoy life. And I'm like, heck, forget that. Like, I think that's terrible advice. Like, get after it now. Because I'm with you too. Like, by the time I'm 40, I want to be like, we're doing whatever the heck we want to do, when we want to do it, how we want to do it. Nobody's telling us anything. Like, the government has no power over us. Like, we have built us. Like, that's freedom to me.
Absolutely.
Like everybody, we sit here and like, oh, we're in freedom. Yeah. The average American, the first 5 months of every year is taxes. That's how much taxes we're paying. Like have you ever heard that statistic? That the average income in America, the first 5 months has all gone to taxes. That's how much taxes they're paying.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I seen that statistic and I'm like, that's not freedom. Like there's so much more.
So you're practically working half your life
to pay taxes.
And you feel so caught up and loyal to your company.
That's the thing. Government. Yeah. That's not freedom. Freedom's I'm living it on my terms.
And then we'll just give your money that you gave us to people that we shouldn't be giving it to anyways.
Yeah, right? So that's like COVID hit and it didn't affect my wife and I at all. Nothing. We didn't lose money. We didn't get told what to do. Nobody made us take the vaccination. And I was like, wow, I like this because so many people around us are scrambling. And we've built ourselves into a small position. Like we weren't in a spot where we're like, hey, we're just going to go do whatever we want, camp. Like I still had to work and grow my business and do some stuff, but nobody was telling us what to do, when to do it, or how to do it. And I was like, wow, I want to keep expanding on this. Like this felt good. Let's make it even more and even better.
Absolutely. And to that point, yeah. Same mindset. We got a lot better.
Yeah.
We practically more than doubled our income over.
Heck yeah.
In COVID.
Isn't that a powerful position to be in?
It's like, hey, everybody else is quitting their job and getting the benefits the government's giving them, so let's go take advantage of that.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
it's crazy.
Man, this has been a powerful podcast.
Yeah. It's probably been an hour already, huh?
Yeah, just about. I honestly could talk to you for hours. We literally talked like for 45 minutes before the podcast. A couple of quick hitter questions for you. If you had one last piece of advice for everybody today, what would that be?
The biggest thing I'd like to share, and I like to share this with people, is like, do it for you. Like, go out and do what it is that you want to do for you. Not because it's what your mom wanted you to do, or your dad, or your teacher, or your spouse, but like, go build the life that it is that you want for you, because that's what you want, and that's who you are. Like your show, like, be authentic. Like, go be the authentic you, because as every one of us does that, it makes all of us better. And within, America and the government and the world, like, what's going to continually make us progress and move forward is us individually. Like, I love we the people. We the people are what's going to make it better. But that takes every single individual person. So if you're feeling in the slumps, or you're just down and feel like you're out and struggling, like, do something, even if it's just the smallest little thing, to create some type of win today. Like, do that for you. And I think the more I act upon those things, and it's hard, it's not an easy thing to do, because we are pressured. We have so much pressure on us. But the more that I do that and strive to live into my authentic self, the more that I feel free with myself. And so that's one piece of advice that I'd love to give to people, is like, give yourself permission to go live the life that you've always dreamed of, and go do it for you.
I love that. And this might tie in, it might not, to my last question. That's, what is your definition of an authentic life?
Definition of an authentic life is that, is living for who you are. Because that's been a thing that I've had to go through, and I've actually been working on that really hard in the last couple of years. I've realized there were some relationships in my life that I thought they weren't influencing me, but they were in a negative way. And I've had to set some boundaries, and setting those boundaries caused a lot of contention within the family or the friendships. It's caused a lot of contention, but I've had to set those boundaries, because I'm like, I've got to be the authentic me. And if I never become that and like really truly live for who I am, I'm not going to accomplish those goals and dreams that I feel like God's planted into my own mind and my heart. Like, those are going to be accomplished as my authentic self. And so I have to have the courage and the faith and the trust in God that if I do those things with the right frame of mind, that it will turn out to be good. And it's hard to do. And I hate to say it, but I think that's one of the biggest things holding people back, is they are afraid to stand up to who they truly are authentically. Like, we are so programmed to live in what we feel like we should be, that anytime we step out of that, the judgment just crushes us. And it's not easy, but you have to do it. You have to step out of, what you currently are and who you currently are, and create and define that authentic person that you are. And until I've started doing this, I've been stuck. And the more that I do that, the more I feel like I'm becoming unstuck and working towards, what it is and who it is that I truly am and that I want to be. So.
Well said, man.
Yeah.
That is the truth.
Yeah.
And boundaries aren't to minimize relationships.
No.
It's to enhance them.
It's to enhance them.
And it's a perspective shift. I can almost guarantee you, without knowing you, I guarantee some of those relationships are a lot better. Or some of them probably decided to leave your life, and that was okay too.
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's been definitely a hard, difficult spot, because it has been mainly with family, right? Important relationships of mine, but sometimes you just gotta do those things. That's like, this is what really caught me. Is my wife asked me one day, and they said, "Hey, if they weren't family, would you allow that?" I was like, "Frick, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have talked to this person in the last 5 years." She's like, "Well, what's the difference?" And I was like, damn, like, that's hard, right?
It is. But again, what's the cost of not doing it?
The cost was keeping me stuck, was completely keeping me stuck. because of those relationships. Oh man, I mean, you know this, Braden, but relationships have so much influence. I mean, if I had to guess, I've never done research or studies on this. I've read a lot about this, but relationships have more influence on the person that you're going to become than anything else. And then I would say next is what you read and what you listen to. But man, sometimes like I'll get around people that aren't studying and learning and striving and personal development, and I feel myself kind of slump down. And I'm like, dang it, no, you know? Like it happens so quick and so easily. Like we've got to guard ourselves. And it's not that we're being jerks or, you know, mean to people. Like, no, you don't hit my standard and da-da-da-da, you know, piss off. You know, that's not what it is, because it's not that I'm better than anybody else. Gosh, I mean, there's so many people that have so many more talents and skills and abilities than I do, but we all have our strengths, right? But it's setting that boundary in the sense of like, look, I want to get better. I want to be a better person. And so I want to surround myself with the people that are helping me get there and not keeping me complacent or pulling me down into things that I don't want to be, right? And so that frustrates when people are like, oh, you think you're better than everybody else. It's like, actually, yeah, I do. Because that's the standard I'm setting for myself. I want to be better. It's not that I'm better than you. It's that I don't want to be average. I don't want to fall into that slump. Like I want to achieve big things, right?
Oh, it's okay just to go have fun. And,
yeah.
you know, not hang out with all those business people.
Yeah.
It's like, no, is that okay?
Yeah. Which it is in a sense, but you got to find what's right for you.
Why not go have fun with somebody that has the same standards of living?
Yeah. I'm sure you and your wife have experienced it, but what you guys are doing, it gets lonely, doesn't it?
But honestly, I know this sounds so weird. I know some people have a struggle with it. I kind of like it.
And I kind of do too. Like it tells me I'm on the right path. But there's some days, and maybe you guys haven't experienced this, but there's some days I wish I was like, man, I wish I could just pick up the phone and talk to somebody.
Oh my goodness.
That gets it.
My best friends, every single one of my best friends live out of state for that reason.
Yeah.
Because most people that think like you and I, it's few and far between. But that's the importance of when you first start a journey of growth. Let me explain this. When you first start in life, everything's normal. It makes sense, right? Because you grow up in your household and it's normal. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you could be told it's okay to smell like BO when you go out into public and to never use deodorant, and it would make sense to you because that's just what you do.
Yeah.
And you start to grow and you start to find who you are and what you want to do. So for you and I, we wanted to change our family trees, right?
Yep.
And what that took is leaving your old friend group, leaving old relationships behind. But what that also meant is we didn't have skill sets, knowledge, whatever the case was, in order to fit into the friend group we wanted to be with.
Yeah.
And so there's a short sprint, sometimes a long sprint too.
Yeah, it's been a little long for me.
And sometimes it can be extremely long.
Yeah.
But if you never give up, at some point you're going to fit into the friend group that will keep you going.
Mm-hmm.
And it is lonely, and it would be nice to pick up the phone and just talk to somebody or go, you know, get a bite to eat, whatever the case is. But I always look at what is the cost, like what are the pros and the cons, what's the pain and the pleasure. And the pain is just too heavy for me to slip back into past.
Because it takes days to get you pulled back out, right?
Yeah.
That's been my experiences. I had an experience this last November. Man, it took me days to pull out of it. Being around some family members and some stuff, like I started feeling guilty for the success. So in the fall is big open enrollment time for my business. So that's where we're the busiest. And I was having the most success I've ever had in my business in 2023. And it was feeling really good. Like it was cool, right? But then hanging around some people, like I started feeling guilty for that. And I'm like, this is stupid. Like I don't like this. And after that whole thing ended and went back and went out to the office again and started working, like it took me a couple of days to get back to the mindset and the frame of mind where I needed to be, an abundance mindset. Like I was completely living in scarcity. I was off, you know? And so, yeah, like you got to protect those things. And so that's where sometimes like it feels lonely, way lonely. And that's why there's so much value in this. And that's why I say yes to the things like this, being invited on a podcast, because I'm like, I need to go meet more people in this. Because the more people that I meet, hopefully I can add some value, they can add value back, and we're going to uplift each other. You know, that's what I love about this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And to that point, it's like, put aside money put aside business success, how are they as fathers, as husbands, or vice versa?
Yep.
How are they as just as a human being?
Yeah.
Usually if somebody's not succeeding in money and business, it's not to say that they're a bad person.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if they fit into that group, usually they have quite a bit of growth.
See, and that's the thing. In all aspects of life, results speak for themselves. You know, in every, like, whether it's finances or relationship or personal development or mindset, positive or negative, like all of those things speak for themselves. And yeah, that's why it's so important to surround yourself by those people that are heading in the direction you want to go or be, or have already made it, or have already had some success, like some form of those things, right?
Yeah.
Just surround yourself by those. There's been a lot of rooms where I've paid, $500 for a day to just go to like a little mastermind thing. And there's been people, worth like kind of where I'm at, and I get a ton of value from there. But then there are those people worth 20, 30, 40 million, or really successful in their marriage, or really good fathers and really good mothers, or whatever, and it's like, I want to go be in those rooms where I feel like the smallest fish, because that's going to cause me to be like, holy crap, I'm thinking too small, right? Like I'm thinking way too small. There's a whole nother level. There's a whole nother gear that I need to get into. And there's a lot of value in that, because it's pressure and like almost a stress in the right direction, instead of just a complacency of like, I'm doing good.
But it also
Compared
shows
to what?
It's possible.
Exactly.
Like I went to this Be Better event the other day, and there's a guy named Ben Kachar there, probably saying this wrong. And anyways, he makes over 6 figures, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Off of just speaking, because he does very well for himself.
Isn't that so cool?
It's like,
dude, I want to hang around you.
It's like with other people you hear, oh, is that possible?
Yeah.
It's like, no, hell yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
Because he's doing it.
That's the thing.
And why the heck can I?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you want to crush your life, tell your goals to small-minded people.
Yep.
But if you want, like, no millionaire is ever going to laugh at you starting your first business. No podcaster is going to laugh at you starting a podcast. So go hang around those people, because they're going to be like, dude, I remember episode 1, like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. They're just going to rattle off information. They love to share. They love to build, I've gotten advice from people worth 30, 40, 50 million dollars that's been life-changing. I didn't pay them a penny. They just love to help. They love to share what worked and what didn't. That's the kind of stuff I want to be around.
And ask for help.
Yeah.
People struggle with that. Go ask for help.
Yeah.
You don't need to know all the answers.
Yep.
But you need to know who has the answers.
There you go.
And then you'll transform your life. Anyways, thank you so much for
dude. This has been awesome.
Seriously.
Thank you for what you and your wife are doing. Everything you guys are creating. Like, this isn't easy. So I commend both of you. Like, this is super cool. So thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much again for listening to the Journey to Authenticity podcast. If you liked what Jared and I myself had to say today, go to subscribe and leave a review. This ensures me to be able to get the highest quality and most interesting guests to help you transform your life moving forward. Also, while I have you here, I would just encourage you again to leave a review on this podcast, as this helps me to drive further impact for you and future people to come. Thanks, you guys.